Right, imagine 10 years ago, I had dreads down to my butt, right? Before my daughter, once again, my daughter's like, who is that dude, right? So I used to do a lot of music videos, and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, lived in Atlanta, did a lot of work in Los Angeles. And in the mid 90s, aside from it being a big music video world, a lot of drugs was going on across our country. So I would get on a plane, a one-way ticket with dreads, and a big black duffel bag. Because I'm a college-minded individual who's like, why would I have a suitcase? I'm just putting my stuff in my bag, and I'd get on and get off a plane. And it would be like clockwork. I would be in Atlanta. Marshals would walk up to me, sir, may we speak to you? And one time they were like, Mr. Whitmore. And I'm looking at my shirt like, what does it say, Mr. Whitmore? You know? And they would have real conversations with me, and they would really conclude through profiling, he has dreads, he's traveling one-way tickets, he's going to Los Angeles, he has a black duffel bag, he must be doing something. I'm like, really? Like, the most unfortunate but yet interesting thing happened. After 9/11, I've never been profiled again. No, I'm serious. I mean, if you really put it into perspective, it's like they shifted all their attention from the obvious, like black dudes with duffel bags and dreads, really get on planes with excessive amount of anything. And when all this stuff happened to me, I'd really look at them because I could entertain it with the most humorous attitude, like, what do you want to know? What do you want to see? I mean, I'm from Milwaukee. There's black people in Milwaukee. Yes, the whole nine. You know, so for me, it's always been funny, and that's kind of what drew me into this project, because I was like, it really does happen. People really look at you and conclude a lot of things.
Hi, my name is Danny, and I'm with the Youth Justice Coalition out of Los Angeles, home of the infamous Crash Unit, and Braden, who left to whatever job he's got to go do now, whatnot. But anyways, it's funny because I've been caught in those three situations more than once, and I mean, I do youth organizing, and we do know your rights workshops, and why I practice those rights and whatnot. But unfortunately, it doesn't work, right? It never works where I come from. I mean, we're LAPD, we're the home of the gang injunction, so that means that if you're 25 and younger and you got short hair, you're a super predator, you're a terrorist. So anyway, my question is that after filing a report to the station, which we obviously know that a police is not going to police a policeman, what can we do to follow up, right? I mean, I filed police reports before, and I follow up, and I check up in the station, and it's on process, but it takes 48 hours to process a civilian, but it takes 6 to 12 months to process an officer. So what can we do to follow up and speed up that process and find out what the actual results are from that reporting the officer for his misconduct or whatnot?
Well, I mean, there's no easy answer to that. You know, if you're dealing with a situation where there's, you know, severe brutality or some sort of, you know, demonstrable, you know, negative outcome, some sort of abuse that you can prove, then you should be talking to an attorney, and that person is really going to be your advocate for following through. You know, if you're taking things to civil court, you're going to be getting responses from these guys. But when it's the petty little everyday stuff, like what we showed here, just the little pull up to you on the street, illegal search kind of thing, we hear about a lot of those kind of things going down with no recourse, you know, and that's just kind of the way it is. If anything, the reason that you want to put it on paper isn't because you're going to get, you know, an apology letter from the chief of police, you know, 2-3 months later. You might get nothing back. Perhaps most of the time you'll get nothing back that indicates that anyone appreciated hearing from you. The police department often does not appreciate hearing from you about the fact that you didn't like the way their officers treated you. But what can happen is one day that officer goes nuts and beats the crap out of some kid. And some civil attorney, you know, years after your encounter, is trying to sue this cop, trying to do something about it. And he goes back on file. He finds a litany of complaints, just like yours, one after the other, alleging a pattern of behavior. And maybe that one complaint that you put in was the one that made the difference, that took it to that level of absurdity. You know, I can't promise that kind of outcome, but, you know, we can, you know, look at it in extremes. Do we never file complaints, or does everybody file a complaint when they don't like the way they were treated? We're trying to push in that direction, and we'll find out how well it works and how much of a difference it makes. But this is the only logical step we can take. These forms exist, so we will fill them out.
Hey, I'm Jason with SSTP. You guys in the video said something about make sure you remember everything about the police encounter so you can recount that accurately. It also said don't ask for a police officer's badge number. So how can you get that information about what their names are accurately without tipping them off?
It's tricky, right? But the second you start behaving in a way that telegraphs your intention to file a complaint in any way, you're giving them the opportunity to go and clean up their act. Suddenly they got witnesses, cops that weren't even there that saw you doing something. You know, so you just can't play that game. If it's more difficult to identify the specific officer in the end, then fine. But the department knows who was there that day. They know where that officer is all the time. You file a complaint, you know maybe how tall the guy was, you know, complexion, gender. There's things you can do to identify an officer. But, you know, this whole thing, it's been going on for years. People say, oh, get the badge number, get the badge number. No. You don't ask that guy for his badge number. There's a 3-digit number on the car. That's a good one. So that's an easy one that you can remember. But there's all kinds of other identifying characteristics. We sort of flash over some of them in the video. Right. But the bottom line is record it, but do it silently. Don't let your behavior indicate an intention to file a complaint later.
Nikichi with the Justice Roundtable. There's a quote that I always found quite interesting, and it goes, as one goes down the police hierarchy, discretion increases. As one goes down the police hierarchy, discretion increases. In light of that, what role does training of street police officers play in all this, and does it make a difference?
Neil Franklin.
Hi, everyone. Neil Franklin. Training plays a huge role. It is extremely important. That's why police officers go through 6 months of training on the average, quite extensive. However, there are 2 steps beyond that. Once they leave the academy, you have field training, which can go anywhere from 4 weeks to 3 months. You have to have good field training officers. And if the academy has not adopted those field training officers to become part of that training academy and progress and process, that's a problem. And in many agencies, that does not occur. The third is first-line supervision, which is extremely important. If the sergeants in most police departments who are first-line supervision are not on the streets consistently, continuing to educate, not just supervise and discipline, but to educate those officers, there's a huge problem. And you'll find that many of the police departments in this country do not do that. They do not reinforce that. You'll find that in some police departments, the sergeants don't even want to be bothered. Go to the senior police officer and get what you need, which is bad because you'll find that in many cases the senior police officers will say, you know that stuff you learned in the academy? Forget about it. We'll show you how it's really done. And what you saw in some cases, unfortunately, is how it's really done. Just one quick comment. Recording, make sure you know the laws of your state. In Maryland, if you record without letting that party know they're being recorded audio, you can find yourself in deep trouble.